press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello all, how are you? I hope that all are doing good. So today I am here with you with the new lesson. The name of the lesson is Footprints Without Feet. So this lesson was written by H.G. Wells. Okay, so before I am going to start a lesson, let's see the the writer's introduction. Okay, so here the writer is H.G. Wells. He was born on 21st September in 1866 in the year, that is the year, and in London in United Kingdom, and he was an English writer, and he is well known for his short stories and novels, and he written dozens of short stories and novels. Okay, so in that there are some of the few short stories I am going to say here, so which is most famous here, that is that the Red Room, the Crystal Egg and the Invisible Man. Okay, so here the lesson is, so let's see about this lesson, that is Footprints Without Feet. So this lesson, a story of a person. Okay, story of a person, that is a scientist. The name of the scientist is Griffin. So I have written here is the main character, that is the Griffin. Okay, so because as a scientist he has discovered a new invention. Okay, that is he made himself invisible. So are you ever thought of to become invisible? Yes, it's an imaginary thing. So even me also, I am also thinking that I should be invisible, I can go everywhere, so nobody can see it, is it? So like that you also thinking in that same way. So here the story of a Griffin, he was a scientist here. So he is a scientist and he discovered some of the new discovery, that is called, he become invisible. Because of that his invention, he made himself invisible. So let's see in this story what are the adventure things he has done in this lesson. Okay, so this is the story about a scientist called Griffin. Can a man become invisible? This is the story of a scientist who discovers how to make himself invisible. Does he use or misuse his discovery? So he made so many adventures, and is he used it in a right manner or in a wrong deeds? Okay, so he has utilized his discovery, so for a good sense or for a bad sense. Okay, so let's see here the story begins like this. The two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. What was a bare-footed man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? And where was the man? As they gazed, a remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh footmark appeared from now where? Okay, now here. So here, in this line, there are two boys. So they were playing. Okay, they were playing. So when they were playing near the mud, means it is an open area. So when they are playing in the mud, so they saw that there are some footprints. Okay, the footprints, it is the impression. So you can say, there is a word used here, that is imprints. Imprints means impression. Okay, impression of a foot. So they have seen that the footprints without the feet. Okay, so this is bare feet. Bare feet means a person who has not wore sandals or slippers or shoes. Okay, so it was a bare feet. What was the bare-footed man doing on the steps of a house? So when the two boys are playing, so they saw that there were a impression of a bare-footed man. Okay, so that is invisible. Okay, so then they were afraid, they were amazed. Okay, so they were asking questions. So what they are doing in the middle of the London? Okay, so what is the the person who is appear here? So what kind of a person he is then? And where was the man? If the print is means the footprints is, they can say it. So where was the man? So they can saw only the impression, not the man. So they are asking, where was the man? Okay, then as they gazed, remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh footmark appeared from now here. Okay, so when they were gazing, when they are looking continuously at the the footprints, so they have see that, so they become amazed, okay, they were surprised. So where were the foot? Okay, and it was a fresh foot mark. It is not a the person who has already they have gone through, already they have went on the mud. No, it is a fresh one. The marks are fresh one. Okay, so means in front of their eyes, one man is walking there. A man is walking, but they can't see that man. Only they could saw the impression of that foot. Okay, so this is foot. Then further footprints followed one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. Okay, so when these people are following that, these two boys are following to that impression. Okay, the foot impressions. So the one after the another, the footprints are following it. Okay, and suddenly it was descending. Descending means it becomes it is not clear. So footprints are coming to an end. That is coming to an end because of the mud. Because that man has the legs, the foots are covered with the mud. So that's why it was descending. The prints were descending, progressing down the street. So when the person was moving, okay, moving ahead, so they saw that these two boys, they saw that. So suddenly, slowly, so the footprints were descending. Okay, so then the boys followed, fascinating, until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter, and the last disappeared altogether. So these boys are following that impression. Okay, so they are following and it becomes fainter and fainter, means it is disappearing. The prints are disappearing. Till then they were following to that impression. Okay, and then at last it was disappear altogether. So where they have followed? So till then the impressions are not disappeared. Till then they have followed it. Okay, so this is. So let's move to the next lines. The explanation of a mystery. So you can barefoot means wearing nothing in the feet. That is called barefoot. Imprints means impression. Then the explanation of the mystery was really simple enough. The bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent. So who is that invisible man? The invisible man, the boys are following the impression of a feet. That is a scientist. A scientist, he was newly discovered something medicine, and he made himself transparent. Okay, he discovered which he made himself transparent. So it was its discovery. Okay, bewildered means puzzled, confused. Those boys were confused about the impressions. Okay, and who is that man? Is the man who is invisible, that is the scientist. Okay, he newly discovered that is his medicine, so which he make himself invisible. So he make himself transparent, not invisible, he made himself transparent. So no one can see him. Okay, because he become a transparent. Then Griffin, the scientist, had carried out experiment after experiment to prove that the human body could become invisible. So he made continuous experiment one after another, and then he proved himself that the human body can become invisible. Okay. Then finally he swallowed certain rare drugs, and his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass, though it also remained as solid as glass. Okay, so here in the lines, here the writer says, finally he swallowed. Okay, he swallowed some of the drugs. Drugs means, rare drugs means it's an important drugs which he discovered. He discovered and he made himself invisible, and that drugs which makes the human body transparent like a thin sheet. Okay, so he made like a thin sheet of a glass. Okay, if you look the glass, how it is transparent. So he made himself with the red drugs which he was discovered. He made himself transparent like how the glasses are. Okay, how the glass are appeared, like that he made himself transparent. Okay, then though it is also remained as solid as glass, but although it remains solid means it's existent. Okay, solid like a glass. So when you look, it is invisible. We can see if there is a glass in front of my eyes, so I can see the outer part of the glass. Okay, whatever I can. If you saw the window from anywhere, if there is a glass, I can see it, okay, but solid, if you touch it, it is a solid, it is not a liquid, it is not a gaseous state, okay, it is a solid one, okay, and he made himself solid. Yes, he is existed, but he made himself transparent. So that is the quality of the drug he was discovered, okay. Brilliant scientist, though he was a griffin, was rather a lawless person. So here the writer called this scientist was a brilliant, he was extraordinary talent he has acquired, okay, and he says that griffin was a rather a lawless means a person who breaks the rules, he never accept any rules, okay, so he was a lawless, and his landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. So because he was breaking rules, so his landlord, because he was living in some of the rented house, so his landlord was disliked him and he was eject him. Eject him means force or throw out. He decided, the landlord of Griffin, he decided to throw out from the house, okay. That is called eject. Eject means forcefully or throw out. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. To get away without being seen, he had to remove his clothes, okay. So he wanted to take revenge, okay. So what he did, because he was thrown him out, means he has not allowed that person into the house, okay, who? The Griffin. The landlord has not allowed Griffin to stay in the house, okay. So then he was for a revenge. So he want to get a revenge for this landlord. He just fired into the house of that landlord, okay, and just he wanted to escape from the scene, the crime what he has did. So he removed his cloth and he was swallowed the medicine, okay. He swallowed the medicine. Thus it was that become a homeless wanderer without clothes, okay, because he become a victim now. So because of that, he removed his clothes and now he become invisible and he was wandering, okay, without food, without money and without house then, and quite invisible until he happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. So when he was roaming on the street, so where there was a mud was collected, so there he was roaming without feet, because why he was invisible? Because nobody should identify that he is the scientist, because he was burned the house of a landlord. So he wanted to escape from the crime whatever he has did, okay. So that's why he removed all his clothes, okay. Then he was walked into on the mud, so which the boys was seen, okay. So they were followed this scientist. So this is the story of a invisible man, that is the scientist, how made himself invisible, okay, and is a person of a lawless man. So he was never accept any rules. Then the next follow the next paragraph, that is, he escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints in London. So he wanted to escape from the boys who are following him, okay. So that incident was happened in the city called London. So he wanted to escape the boys which they were following him, okay. Then but his adventures were by no means over. Adventures means a daring experiences. He had a daring qualities, okay. You know that he has discovered a rare drugs and he was swallowing it and he break the rules. He was never accepts any rules and he burned the landlord house, okay. So there are so many adventures are there in the upcoming story here, okay. So he was not like a person which he leads the normal life which he has follow all the rules, okay. So this is, and still there were adventures are there in the story, and no means over means certainly not, okay. The adventures were not finished. So he did some other adventures and other incident he has done. He had chosen a bad time for the year to wander about London without clothes. Okay, it was a midwinter. The air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. Okay, so here in these lines, he chosen the season called winter season. It is the month of midwinter. Okay, so it is difficult to roam in the city of London without clothes, okay, because it was too cold, it's too chilly, okay. Then how can he save from the coldness? Because if he was without clothes, he could die, okay, because of the coldness. and then it was a midwinter. The air was bitterly cold. Okay, so it was terrified cold. It was very strong cold. And he could not do without clothes. Then instead of walking about the streets, then he decided to slip into big London store for a warmth. So instead of walking on in the London streets, so he decided to take a shelter in some of the store shops, means the shops which is available of the clothes. Okay, because he is a person which nobody has seen, nobody can see him. Okay, so he is an invisible man. Then he thought that instead of wasting his time, and he was roaming without clothes in the midwinter in the city of London. So it's good to stay in some of the stores. Okay, which is the clothes stores. So make himself comfortable. Okay, to protect himself from the coldness, okay. Then closing time arrived, and soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. Okay, so now every shops is about to close. Every shops are about to close. So now he decided that he want to go into some of the stores where there will be the food and the clothes are available in that store. So he picked that kind of a stores. You know, some of the stores like a malls, not malls, it's a malls. Okay, some of the malls where you see that there are all the stores which is present in one of the in one building. So he chosen that kind of a store where he get the meals or either any food or any clothes. Okay, so then and he make himself to give himself the pleasure of clothing, feeding himself without regard to expense, because he doesn't have money. So without money he could get what he needs. Okay, he broke open boxes, wrappers, and fitted himself out with warm clothes. So what he get in the stores, that is the boxes and the wrappers, he opened it and he was wearing it. Fitted himself means he was wearing the clothes which he protect from the coldness. Okay, and soon with shoes and overcoat and a wide brim hat. So he put his shoes on his feet and then overcoat to protect himself from the coldness. He was wore a overcoat, that is jacket, and you may call jacket or a what called it's called a blazer. Okay, then coat and wide brimmed hat. Wide brimmed hat means the hat which they were usually wearing in London city. Okay, so it was a wide one and it was a brimmed. Brimmed means edges. Okay, the edges of the hat which was a wider one. He became fully dressed and visible person. So when he was on all the dresses, so he became visible now. Okay, because only things this one is not saying that is the body of his the scientist. If he wore the clothes, then anybody can see him. Okay, now he become visible. And in the kitchen of the restaurant in the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of gills. Okay, so there was a restaurant in the store. He went into the kitchen of the restaurant. So there he saw the cold meat and the coffee. So he took it, and the next he was followed with the sweets and wine. There was a wine and some of the sweets are preserved in the restaurant. So he took that. Okay, he ate it and then taken from the grocery store. And finally he settled down to sleep on a pile of goods. Now he was protected himself from a coldness and his stomach was full. Okay, now he wanted to sleep. Okay, so he was get sleep. So where he was on a pile of quilts. Pile of quilt means cover for a bed that has thick warm material. There was a cover of a bed which is a thick and warm, which is usually wearing to cover the beds. Okay, so on that he was slept in the store. Then so further paragraph. So what is the story here? If only Griffin had managed to wake up in good time, all might have been well. As it was, he did not wake up until the assistants were already arriving next morning. So if he could wake up early before any assistants of a store, if they were arriving to the store, if he gets wake up before they were arriving, so the things are different. but actually he was in a deep sleep. Okay, so there was an assistant came, means the salesperson who are assistant for a job. So he came to open the shop. Okay, and it was a next morning when he saw a couple of them. Okay, when he saw the couple of them approaching, he panicked and began to run. Okay, so the couple of people came to open the store. Then he saw that some of the two person, so they are coming near to him, and he was panicked. Panic means he got mad. Okay, he was nervous, so he was running. He was escaped by running. Then naturally, panic means scared and nervous. So he felt nervous and scared because the two people came near him. So he thought that they will catch him and they can hand over to the police. Okay, to escape from the scene, then he was escaped from the crime. Then he was ran away, and they naturally gave chase. In the end, he was able to escape only by quickly taking off his newly found clothes. So once more he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air. Okay, so they naturally gave chase. So those people who are the assistants of a store, so they were following him. Chasing means ran after him. They were also ran after him to catch this man. Because now they have understood that so some person is there in the store over the night. So now they wanted to catch this one, okay, this person. And in the end, he was able to escape only by quickly taking off his newly found clothes. Okay, so he wanted to escape from that. The scientist, the griffin, he wanted to escape from the two people. So he started removing his clothes. Okay, that they should not found. Okay, so once more he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air. Okay, so once again he made himself naked. So it is the month of chilly, that is a cold weather in the month of January. So once again he become naked. Okay, because he wanted to save from the catch of the people, because he did the crime. No, so he is breaking the rules. So that's why he wanted to not to get caught to the police. Okay. Is that person, that is the landlord, and these two people, so they will catch him and they will hand over to the police. So because he wanted to save from those things, he wanted to protect himself from the police, from the punishment, so he was running, so he was escaping from all the situation whatever he has done. Okay, this time he decided to try the stock of theatrical company in the hope of finding not only clothes but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Shivering with cold, he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theatre world. So now he was decided that the good place for him, that is the theatre. Okay, theatre, so where the dramas, where the act was going on. So there were so many things it is available there, so he can use it. Okay, so without purchasing he can use it. So because there are so much of stocks which is related for the costumes, the things which he wants. Okay, so he thought that the best place for him now, that is the theatre. Okay, so theatre, there he found the different cloths and different materials which he can use it, and the main thing is he want to bring some thing on his face, because this part is when he was over the cloths, so this part becomes invisible still. Okay, so he wanted to cover his face with some of the things which he needs it, and he was thought that the best place for him to cover his face, that is the theatre. Okay, but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Shivering with the cold, he hurriedly to Drury Lane and the center of the theatre world. Yes, so because in the month of January in the London streets it was a cold weather. Okay, the season is the winter season, so he wanted to protect himself from the cold, because if he is tolerating so much then he can die. So that's why he wanted to save, and then hurriedly he just moved to the place called Drury Lane. Okay, it was a lane, and there was a theatre of the world, that is the center of the theatre world. Okay, so that place is called a center of the theatre world, where all the dramas, plays, roles, everything it is organizing in the theatre. Okay, next, he soon found a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs and came out a little water wearing bandages around his forehead and dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers and a large hat to escape without being seen. He callously attacked the shopkeeper from behind, after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. Okay, so in the theater he came to the shop that where he could get the things whatever he wants. Okay, so what he get it there, as being invisible, so he gets in upstairs. Then he was later wearing a bandages, so he was covered his face with the bandages. Okay, with the bandages around his forehead, up to the forehead he covered his face with the bandages and dark glasses. He wear spectacles, that is a glass, that is a dark one. Okay, false nose, so the nose which is artificial one which he has worn it, and then big bushy side whiskers, the whiskers which is there in the near of the ears, so he has worn it, and a large hat. He wore a large hat. That to escape without being seen. So why he was using those things, what he want? So he wanted to escape that where the people could not find him easily. Okay, so like that he made himself dressed in that manner that no people can find him. This is a scientist, this is the Griffin. Okay, so this is, and he callously attacked the shopkeeper. Callously means a way that shows insensitive and cruel disregard. He attacked to the shopkeeper. So the shopkeeper, he had some money, okay, with him, whatever the things he has sold the products, so he had it. So there he was attacked on it, and he was robbed all the money from the shopkeeper. After he was covered his mouth, he was covered his face and wear the glasses and then the hat and everything. So he was attacked to the shopkeeper and he robbed all the money. Okay, and then so the next paragraph, eager to get away from the crowded London, he took a train to the village of Iping, where he booked 2 rooms at the local inn. Okay, so here eager to wait. Now he wanted to ran away from the city called London. It was a crowded where the people could not find him easily. So that's why he decided to run away from this place. Okay, so he was by the train he was shifted to the other place called Iping. It is a village name. Okay, Iping is a village name. So he was ran away from London, where he booked 2 rooms at the local inn. So in the village called Iping, so there he was booked 2 rooms in the local inn. Inn means it is a house, it is kind of a houses where the people are offering to the guests. Okay, to the guests they were providing food and shelters, everything, and it is a part of their house. So there they are giving one of the room to the guests. Okay, they have to pay the rent. Okay, that is called inn. So there was a local inn. So he was booked 2 rooms there, and he was staying there. Okay, after left the London. Then the arrival of a stranger at an inn in winter was in any case an unusual event. So after the arrival the stranger, now he is a stranger to the people of this village called Iping. So after he was arriving, there are some other strange things were happening in this village. Okay, then a stranger of such uncommon appearance set all the tongues wagging. A stranger of such uncommon appearance set all the tongues wagging. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly, but Griffin had no desire to talk, and told her that my reason for my coming to Iping is a desire for solitude. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. Besides, an accident has affected my face. Okay, so where he was living there in an inn. So there was a landlord called Mr. Hall and Mrs. Hall. They are the two people they were living. They were the husband and wife staying there. And now it looks like an uncommon appearance. The people, they were they feel like something strange to this person, because he covered his face and he was came in the month of January. It is nobody was visited in that place because of the cold weather. Okay, so that's why they feel like it was a strange about this person. So now Mrs. Hall, that is the landlord of a house, so she wanted to make this person friendly, because her intention is to get to know about this person. So who is he, what is the intention to came this village. Okay, so he make himself, so that lady, she wanted to make himself friendly, but he was not allowed. Okay, and he said the reason. So why he came to the village, because he was met with some of the accident, and his face was burnt, and he wants some solitude, he want to be live alone. Okay, so my reason for the coming to Iping is desire for solitude. Solitude means alone. So why I came to this village called Iping, because I wanted to live alone. Okay, and do not wish to be disturbed in my work. So no one should disturb in my work, so that's why I came to this place. Besides, an accident has affected my face. Okay, because of the accident, I met with the accident, so my face was damaged, so no one should be interfere in my work, and I came here to live alone by myself. So that's why my intention to came here in this village. This is the thing. Okay, because he just given a reason to the landlords. Okay, so this is the thing. Then tongues wagging means moving, that is here talking. He give a back answers. Okay, that is tongues wagging means it's an issue. So all of them are discussing. So not a back talking. It is a issue that the person who came to this landlord house, he was a stranger. Okay, so that is called wagging. Satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist. Okay, those landlords, they have know that this person who has arrived that, so that person came there, so that was the eccentric scientist. Eccentric scientist means strange scientist. And in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. Okay, the scientist is always in an irritable temper. He was in anger always. If any person is asked the question, he was in an anger. Okay, he showed the expression like this, emotions like this. And Mrs. Hall, she was leaving him. She was not asking question more and more, because scientist was paid. Griffin was paid rented amount earlier before it. Okay, so advancedly he was paid all the amount which he could afford it. Okay, so that's why Mrs. Hall also not interfering in the work of Griffin. Okay, so then, but the stolen money did not last long. Presently, Griffin had had to admit that he had no more ready cash, and he pretended, however, that he was expecting check to arrive at any moment. Okay, so now if he has stolen money, so how many days the stolen money will be with this Griffin? So it will an end. One day it should be an end. So now he doesn't have money. So now he is giving excuses that he is waiting for a check. Okay, pretending means he was pretending, he was acting like that he is waiting for some of the check because he had no money. Okay, he gives the reason. Then that was the expecting check to arrive at any moment, and he gives the reason that says the reason that at any time my check, that is my cash check, it will be arrived. Okay. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by noises in the study gripping downstairs. They heard the chink of a money being taken from the clergyman's desk. Okay, so one day, so he was trying to rob the money from the clergyman house. Okay, clergy means a priest of church. Okay, so he decided to steal money from a clergyman's house. So it was a curious episode occurred. Okay, one of the curious one. So everybody, when they know that, so everybody felt like a curious one. Okay, very early in the morning a clergyman. So he went into the clergyman in the morning time. He and his wife were awakened by noises in the study. Okay, so in the study room, so they felt there was some strange noises were, okay, they heard it. Wife of clergyman and clergy, both were creeping downstairs. So creeping downstairs, some of the strange noise, okay, so that was from the downstairs. They heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. So when the griffin was, because now he become invisible, so when he was opened the drawer of a desk, so when he taking money, he made some sound of a money. So then the clergyman was heard that the money was being taken, okay, from the desk. So then they heard that somebody is stealing money of clergies. Without making any noise, with a poker grasped firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung open the door. So clergyman, what he has done when he heard that somebody is there, they are stealing money, so he just woke up and without making a single noise, and he just take a poker. Poker means a metal rod to settle fire. Okay, you know, in the London, so they have some fireplace. So they are settled the fire in by the using the metal rod. So he took it. Clergyman took that metal rod to hit on the that robber who is stealing money. Okay, so he hold it in his hand, and the clergyman flung open the door. So suddenly he just opened the door, then surrendered. So that clergyman said that surrender. So surrender yourself. Then to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody, yet the desk had been opened and housekeeping money was missing. So housekeeping money means, so the money which is utilizing for a regular things which they need, you know, for a month, if a person gets the salary after 1 month work, okay, so he gets some salaries. So from that salary, so he could save some of the amount for a housekeeping work, housekeeping money, okay. So that one was missing. They both were realized that somebody is there in the room, and suddenly there were no one. So when the clergyman was open it, so nobody was there in the room. It was totally empty. And then the clergyman, his wife, they both were looked into the desk. So it was empty. Behind the curtain, even the chimney, everywhere they could find out. So wherever it is possible, the places, they could find it everywhere, but no person was there, okay, and there wasn't sign of anybody, and there is no gestures of any person was there in that room, and yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing, okay. So door was opened and the desk where the clergyman was kept the money in the desk, so it was open and there was no money in that, okay. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. So this was an extraordinary thing, strange thing, because it was stolen and no one is there in the home, okay, when it was stolen. So then he was discussing with the other people all the day then, but it was not extraordinary as the behavior of a Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. So the same day, in the same day, he has stolen money, where he was stolen money. So same day he was given a strange thing to the Mrs. Hall, okay. So what it is, the landlord and his wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. The landlord and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Hall, so they were surprised that the scientist's room was opened, the room was opened. Usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. So usually they were observed that it was locked all the time, but they were observed that why this door was opened, okay. So if anyone was went in his room, okay, so he was furious, he was in anger, okay. Then the opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They peeped around the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. So now they get the opportunity to find out, so what the things he has, what the things he is doing with the closed room. Okay, so he get inside the room, and they were peeping means they were looking everywhere very detailedly. So they were started investigating the things what he is doing then they peeped round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time, and the stranger's still cloths and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. Okay, so the clothes were cold means it was a sign that the scientist was not in the room for some time. Okay, he went out from the room. So there was a bandages on the bed. Okay, and there was a hat on the bed. Okay, so that is the scientist. For some time he went out, and the stranger still that the cloths and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. Okay, the stranger was the clothes and the bandages which he always wore it was on the bed. Okay, all of a sudden Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. So when they were looking and observing the room of a scientist, suddenly Mrs. Hall heard that a strange sound. What is that? A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leaped up and dashed itself into her face. Leaped up means it was flying. The hat was flying, which is on the bed. Okay, so the hat was flying. So with the hat which is on the bed, which was flying, and it was hit on the face of the that is on Mrs. Hall. Then the bedroom chair became alive. So bedroom chair was alive. It was moving. Okay, the bedroom chair was moving, springing into the air. Springing means it was flying in the air. It charged straight at her, legs foremost. So that chair were also attacked on the Mrs. Halls. Okay, then as her husband turned away in a terror. So they were in a terror, they were in a fear. So they both were, the Mrs. Hall and her husband, they both were in terror. And then what they had done, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room, and then appeared, slammed and locked the door after them. So when they see that the chair is attacked on them, so suddenly they pushed that chair into the room, and they came out from the room, and they locked the door. Okay, then Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. Hysterics means wildly emotion. So Mrs. Hall was slammed down. She was fell down. Okay, so she was fell down from the stairs with a very wild manner. Okay, she was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits, and that the stranger had somehow caused this to enter into her furniture. Okay, so now they were understood that this room was haunted. Haunted means it is haunted by the ghosts. Okay, the place was haunted by the ghost, and he was done something with that room, who that scientist was. So now they were understood it. So the chair and the furniture, what it was flying, so it was done by that scientist. Okay, my poor mother used to sit in that chair. She moaned. She think it should rise up against me now. So now Mrs. Hall, she is recalling her mother. So always in that chair, so my mother was always, she used to sit on that chair. Now that chair was attacking on me. She was crying with telling like this. Okay, and then the feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. So the person a lady who does the black magic. Okay, so the neighbors, they were discussing that the things whatever happening in a strange manner, so that one was done by witchcraft. Okay, but witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, so suddenly when they were discussing about this, the incident what happened in the Mrs. Hall's house, so that one was did by witchcraft. But suddenly when they heard that there was a burglary, there was a robbery in a clergyman's home, so then they have understood that there is a similar incident this is. Okay, and it was not a witchcraft. The stranger scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. So everybody is suspecting that, so the scientist had done this. So by these two incidents, so behind that incident, so who is the man here? That is the scientist, because of him. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. Okay, suspected becomes stronger. So when he had some money and he hand over to Mrs. Hall. So earlier he used to say that he hadn't money. Okay, suddenly the money arises. Then they have understood that the robbery which was happened in the clergyman's house, so that one was did by scientist. Okay, the village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. Okay, now they were waiting for the village constable. All the people, they were informed to the village constable, but Mrs. Hall, she was not being waiting for the constable, and she was rushed into the room of a scientist, and now she is asking questions to the scientist. Okay, so how you were came, because the door room was closed, and how he was entered into the room. Okay, so it was empty, but how you are mysteriously entered into the room. I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs, she demanded, and I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room. Okay, so she is asking questions that what you have done with my chair. Okay, so it was floating, and I wanted to know that. So that room was empty, we have locked it, and how you are coming out from the room, and how you are entering into the room. So we should want the things what you are doing in our house and surrounding. Okay, they want reasons, they want a proof. Then scientist was always quick tempered, now he became furious. So he always in a quick temper, he is in a anger, short tempered. Okay, now he become furious, he become more anger. Okay, then you don't understand who or what I am, he shouted. Very well, I will show you. So you don't think that what I am, I will show you that what I am. Now he is become anger, and he is showing his real qualities. Okay, suddenly he threw of bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even the nose. So he was removing all the materials which he was using. The artificial nose, bandages, spectacles, hat, everything he was removing one by one. He took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at the headless man. So the people who were surrounded with the scientist was surrounding with the people. They were staring at him continuously, fixedly. Okay, so they were saw that it was a headless man. Okay, so they were in a horrified, they were terrible, the people are in a terrible. Mrs. Jaffers, the constable, so here the constable is Mr. Jaffers. The constable now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. So suddenly Mr. Jaffer was arrived. He was a constable, and he was surprised that he could have to arrest a person without head. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested with or without his head. So before he gets arrested, this man, that is scientist, so he want warrant from a magistrate permission. Okay, so then only the constable could arrest this man with or without headless. Okay, with or without head. There followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. So now the constable, he used to catch this person, okay, the scientist, but suddenly he was removing one by one his garments, his clothes, and how he was removing, he become invisible. Okay, the people, they were seeing that the person is invisible. Then finally a shirt flew into the air, and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Okay, so finally he was removing his shirt, and then the constable saw that he can't see him properly because now he was invisible. How could they see that? Okay, after removing his clothes, nobody can see him easily, and now everybody was surprised by seeing this one. Some people tried to help him. So now the constable, he was trying to capture him, trying to caught him, and other people, they were also trying to catch him, but they were struggling to catch him, but because he was invisible, it is not easy to catch him. Okay, but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. Means that scientist, it was hitting on their faces. Burrs means they were hitting on their faces. So wherever they were going, and one by one they were hitting on the faces of constable. Okay. In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. So unknowingly, he was just assuming, he just because of the unsure thing, he just wanted to capture, he wanted to attack on this invisible man, the scientist, but actually it was failed. Okay. Then there was a nervous, excited cries of hold him, but this was easier than said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. So constable said that he was captured him, and suddenly he said that hold him. Okay, but no one knows that where the hands of these of this scientist. So he was making himself free to he was struggling him to free from the people. He just wanted to make himself free, and he was ran away. So nobody was captured him, not even the constable, not even the people, because he was invisible. How can it is possible to capture a invisible person? Because when he has owned the clothes, then only he can possible, then only they can catch him possibly. Okay, but without the clothes, it is not easily found him. It is not easily found him, and they can't catch him. So this is about the story, and he was ran away. So he was escaped. He was left the place, and he was ran away from that place. Okay, so this is about the today's class. I hope that you have learned the lesson. So if a person, it is like a quite adventure and thriller story. Okay, so because of this adventure, actually if a person discovers like this, he had a talented person, but because of the attitudes and his behavior, he is not he just misused his discoveries. He has not utilized in a good manner. Okay, he just misused his discovery. Okay, so this is the story of a person called Griffin, and he was a scientist. So I hope that you have understood this today's class, and you also enjoyed it, and we will meet you in the next class. Till then, all of you stay at home, keep learning. Thank you.